Welcome everyone, I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and now that all of the film has been watched and all of the grades are in, it's time for the Football Game Plan Scouting 2018 NFL Draft Prospect Preview. Before we get started with our prospect rankings, here's how we gather our grades and what they actually mean. First, we watch a minimum of 3 full games on a player, a prospect's best game, his worst game, and the best or intriguing matchup. And second, we grade on 15 key points specific to the position to equal 100 points in total. Now, here's what the grades that you'll see by a prospect's name will actually mean. Prospects that earn grades in the 90s graded out as future NFL All-Pros. Prospects in the 80s are considered future Pro Bowl players. Grades in the 70s represent solid NFL starters, and grades in the 60s are players that we believe are spot starters in the NFL. And if you notice, we don't use the word reserve or backups because we personally feel as though that there are no such thing as backups in the NFL, only starters in waiting. So without further ado, let's kick off our prospect rankings by taking a look at our top 10.
Kicking off our running back rankings, at number 1 is Saquon Barkley out of Penn State. Now, Barkley has complete all-around game on top of all of the physical tools that you want at the position. He can run, catch, elude, pass protect, and most importantly, protect himself. What's underrated about his game is his ability to be a downfield threat in the passing game. Many detractors question Barkley's vision as an issue, but that's far from the truth. Patience is more of an issue than vision for Barkley. The pro game is tailor-made for him to foster growth in that department because of the alignment in the backfield. In my opinion, he's a blue-chip prospect home run hitter that doesn't have to leave the field. Rashad Penny out of San Diego State actually has the patience that you want Barkley to have. His experience as a kickoff returner in 2016 allowed him the opportunity to set up blocks and exploit angles. As he stepped into the full-time role this past season, he really put every tool in his toolbox to work, rushing for over 2,000 yards on the year. Penny has great tackle-to-tackle vision and can read things both early and late in the play. He's not overly elusive, but definitely can make defenders miss with a subtle move left or right. What's equally impressive is his ability to avoid direct shots, which aids longevity. In my opinion, he's a phenomenal back. Sony Michel has the above-average agility to have a lot of success as a pro, showing the ability to jump cut to find space. He's a very good receiver, capable of being an all-everything option in that capacity. Even in pass protection, he's consistently knowing who and how to pick up a blitzer. He's more of a one-cut, make-and-miss type of a guy as opposed to a stringing moves together type of a tailback. Either way, he's going to blossom even more so as a pro than what we saw from him this past season at Georgia. Mark Walton is an underrated prospect coming out of Miami. He missed the majority of the season with an ankle injury, but should be healthy enough to go through all of the testing at the combine and also his pro day. He's a very fluid runner that's consistently able to make moves going downhill. Receiving skills can use some improvement, more so in the downfield passing game area, but his game is very similar to last year's NFL rushing leader, Kareem Hunt. Ronald Jones of USC plays at a pro speed. He can thrive as a pro in an outside zone, stretch-heavy scheme. At times, he runs a bit blind without patience, both of which can cause him to leave yards out there on the field or run into defenders or his own blockers. But more often than not, he's able to attack the edge, see the cutback, and make defenders pay because of over pursuit. So it'll be interesting to see what his time 40 speed is because, in my opinion, he's another one of these home run hitters that we have in this draft class. He can shift from first gear to fifth gear with ease and outrun angles. Agility is slightly above average as he has to take many steps to change direction, but nonetheless, he's another impressive ball carrier in what is shaping up to be an excellent group of backs. I'm a big fan of Chase Edmonds' game out of Fordham. I've seen a ton of his games live over the last 4 seasons up here in the Bronx, and up until last season, he's been durable and also box office for the Fordham Rams. With many backs, pass pro is always going to be where you want to see him get better as he moves forward, but as a runner, Edmonds is built low to the ground, which allows him to easily move left to right to evade a defender or avoid a direct shot. He also has tremendous vision and acceleration. With the heavy workload he shouldered at Fordham, there's no doubt in my mind that he can't do the same thing as a pro. Darius Geis is a solid runner that's a volume carry guy in the NFL, which is more than fine. I actually like that he's the type of back that can force a play caller to not abandon the run. He also has the element of breaking the long run because he has underrated speed. He's more subtle in his elusiveness and is better between the tackles than he is out in the open field. Coaches will love him because he protects the football at all costs. In the passing game, his hands are a bit underrated as he wasn't asked to do much of that in that capacity with the Tigers. He does, however, has to give a little bit more effort in the blocking department. Moving forward, Geis has to learn when, where, and how to deliver and/or avoid direct shots if he wants to have sustained success. I'm glad Nick Chubb put together back-to-back healthy seasons after that gruesome knee injury a couple of years ago. He's very similar to current Indianapolis Colts running back Frank Gore. Pre-injury, I thought he was more like Jonathan Stewart. Chubb has good vision for the position. He's best at finding little creases in between the tackles. He's a powerful runner that breaks a lot of tackles. He's not overly elusive, but he'll see the cutback lane but may not always get there. As far as speed is concerned, he provides an explosive burst but okay long speed if that makes sense. I like how his work in the weight room definitely translates to the field, and that should help him have a long, productive pro career. You want to talk about game-breaking speed? Look no further than Nyheim Hines out of NC State. He's very elusive in space and has the speed to flip field position and ring that cash register up pretty quickly. He has to get stronger as a runner if he wants to down work as a pro, as he tends to go down a bit easy upon contact. He's a threat in the passing game as he played predominantly wide receiver as a sophomore, so he still has upside in this game as he played running back full-time for the first time this season for the Wolfpack. Rounding out my top 10 is Larry Rose III out of New Mexico State. He's been one of the most productive runners in college football over the last 4 seasons. Rose has everything that you want in a tailback, and I like his ability to stop and start with suddenness and the ability to line up in the slot and be a factor as a receiver. Getting stronger is going to be his main focus as a pro, but for opposing defenders that fly up in the alley, Rose isn't opposed to dropping a shoulder to let you know that he's bringing some pop to the table. As we look at prospects 11 through 20, you'll see a lot of familiar names to those that love college football. I think Royce Freeman, Ryan Nall, and Justin Crawford's game are vastly underrated. Kellen Ballage has a unique skill set that could see him compared to guys like David Johnson or Charles Clay. It all depends on what trait you value more in his game. Kerryon Johnson shows the ability to string moves together and really came on this season for Auburn. So did John Kelly for Tennessee. And both Edo Smith and Akram Wadley are jitterbug type backs that will be instant threats in the passing game. 2 HBCU prospects in Trenton Cannon and Martez Carter are names to get very familiar with. Cannon was up for the Black College National Player of the Year award after a phenomenal career at Virginia State. His speed and acceleration is what pops out at you on tape initially. He's also a valuable asset as a receiver out of the backfield whose game is very similar to the Falcons' Tevin Coleman. Martez Carter is an explosive runner out of Grambling State. He can help in offense on both ends as well as a returner. Ball security is going to be a question as he'll have to get that eliminated before he makes the move to the league, but he's another one of these home run threat backs that can be a good complementary guy within an offensive attack. I thought this year's class had a lot of similar backs in it. This list echoes that sentiment in my opinion. Guys that are good zone guys with above average acceleration. Keep an eye on Cameron Petway out of Auburn and Delance Turner out of Alcorn State. Both backs bring run power with their acceleration and could end up blossoming as pros. Sam Binger out of Carnegie Mellon is very similar to Grambling's Martez Carter in terms of burst and explosiveness. He played in a great offensive attack that helped develop his vision and his patience as a runner. He dealt with some injuries this season, but he's a guy that can come in immediately and help out on special teams as a returnman while garnering some minutes in third down situations because of his ability as a receiver and what he can do in space with the ball in his hands. Such a deep class of backs as we work our way through this list. Ahmad Bradshaw was the option quarterback for the Army Black Knights, but has superb running skills to make the switch to tailback full-time. Jordan Chun out of Troy and Bo Scarborough out of Alabama are bigger backs that can play, but they have some injury concerns as they enter the league. I think both Josh Adams of Notre Dame and Anthony Filial out of Howard are some of the best backs in the country in attacking a lane at full speed and ripping off yards and chunks. Speaking of that, Detrez Newsome out of Western Carolina fits that description to the T. Newsome was an explosive playmaker for the Catamounts and has game that's very similar to Travaris Cadet. I think his impact will be felt on special teams and in passing situations where they can get him on the perimeter and he can utilize his excellent speed. Looking at 41 through 50, and there's still a lot of speed here on this board with Stacy Bedell out of Stony Brook, Arkhill Newsome out of UConn, and Corey Avery out of the explosive program at Sam Houston State. I thought Nick Wilson was very good all week long at the Tropical Bowl, and I'm glad he's back fully healthy as he tries to earn a roster spot. Chris Robinson of Delta State was another performer that raised a lot of eyebrows from scouts during the Tropical Bowl practices. His career at Delta State is highly decorated, and what makes him a talent is his elusiveness. Robinson is a nightmare in the open field and proved to be a big play waiting to happen for the Fighting Okra. And finally, both Herb Walker Jr. and Harold Cooper of Rhode Island are similar players and prospects in my opinion. Both guys are short, but they're not small. They're very strong weight room guys, and they run with good power and bring tremendous value in the kickoff return game. Now here's a look at my top fullback prospects for this draft class. I'm a big fan of all 6 of these guys on this list. I also like the way Dimitri Flowers plays the game. I think he can even serve in a one-back situation a la Zach Line did for the Minnesota Vikings when he came out of SMU. But all 6 of these guys are excellent players, and keep an eye on Division III's Jordan Wilcox out of Springfield College. They ran the triple option. He was a big guy in the backfield, the fullback that ran for over 1,700 yards. I think he has a chance to shine if given the opportunity.
So that's a wrap for our 2018 FBGP Scouting Draft Prospect Preview. To see more of our individual scouting reports, follow us on Twitter at FBGP Scouting and bookmark the page footballgameplan.com/FBGP Scouting. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/footballgameplan, where you can get all of our scouting videos, mock drafts, and NFL draft prospect videos. And one more thing, subscribe to us on iTunes under Football Game Plan Podcast, where you can find the Scout Team Podcast, where we interview multiple NFL draft prospects.